in the first, couple weeks of the Trump administration, Trump put out this weird idea like, hey, we've got a lot of people in prisons already in the United States. What if we ship them to just other prisons overseas? And then everybody said, okay, that's weird and creepy. But then that went away. And then once we started seeing some of the, this vandalism taking place at these Tesla dealerships, and Trump said we're going to put these people on trial as domestic terrorists, he said, oh, and by the way, when we get the convictions, maybe we send these people to prisons in other countries, specifically El Salvador, which is renowned for being just torture prisons.
Well, no, it's hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you have entered the gates of hell.
Yeah.
And you're going to stay here the rest of your life if you don't die from being murdered.
And so now we have this, a thing we now have to discuss. Is it even possible to send a U.S. prisoner just to a different country? Can we deport U.S. citizens, basically? Would he do it first and foremost?
Of course he would.
I wouldn't put anything past him.
Of course he would. Now, he's threatening these Tesla, these Tesla terrorists. They got 3 of them. They're going to do, every one of them's going to do 20 years. I mean, that's a pretty ugly story in of itself. But so that's how it came out. That's where this discussion came out. And where it originated, the argument is clear to me. Okay, you've got a due process argument. You have an 8th Amendment argument of cruel and unusual punishment. The due process is very clear. If you send somebody to another country, how do they get access to their lawyers, right? How do they get access to their family to support them through the process? That's an easy due process. But the cruel and unusual also ties right into that. What's interesting, though, to me, is these same arguments have been made about McNeil Island, it's been made about Alcatraz Island, it's been made about Rikers Island. And those, in business, they did business for, many, many years. So this is a little different, though, from being on an island outside New York.
Right.
And, you're going to send them to Nicaragua under some dictator that's going to torture them. That is different. I don't think this goes anywhere. Isn't it just another Trump event? I'm going after the Tesla people, and I'm going to send your butt to some awful place like El Salvador.
I do think most of this is just pure scare tactics.
Yeah.
Saying, listen, if you break the law, I'm going to send you're going to Siberia, basically. I'm sure, honestly, he could probably call Putin and work that out real quick if he wanted to.
He could do a treaty. Now, if you had a treaty. If there's some kind of weird treaty that's worked out, you'd have to go, at the very least, have some kind of treaty worked out. I mean, you're not going to send somebody to Nicaragua. Right. But Putin would say, hell yeah, send them to Moscow. I'll take care of them.
Yeah, right. But look, I do want to say, because I mention this anytime I talk about this, it never ceases to drive me completely insane when you have normal, real protests of people that go out there and say, listen, I don't like this environmental project. I don't like the racism in the country. I don't like Tesla. And you go out and protest, and that's great. Do that all day long. Mm-hmm. All of these things, even the protests on the right, they attract agitators. Oh. People that don't actually care about the cause, but say, you know what? I want to get violent. I want to get rowdy. I want to be stupid and hurt the cause. And that is what we're seeing right now, these dumbasses that go out and do this. And it hurts the cause tremendously.
I hope this doesn't end up being accurate. But the early stuff coming in is looking like the George Soros team is behind the most active violence of some of these protesters. And it's killing the efforts that can really be made. You don't have to burn up a Tesla. You just show up in huge numbers. You don't have to take that kind of stand. But when there's bits and pieces coming out in some of the media that's tying this up, maybe to the Soros organization. I hope that's not true.
Well, I mean, look, you've got the world's richest man wandering around the White House every day. I haven't seen anything to suggest Soros is doing any of this. Plus, the Republicans, y'all lost all credibility even mentioning the name George Soros now when you've got the wealthiest man in the world who lost $140 billion and is still the wealthiest man in the world.
It's okay.
You guys over there on the right, they have the most money because then they've got Bezos and Zuckerberg right behind.
Yeah.
And they're out there talking about George Soros, this mythical funder of everything they don't like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know how much the Soros stories are true, but I'm seeing quite a lot of information about it. And my point is this: it's not the right approach. You don't.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Right.
You know,
It's so
think
damaging
of
to
the
the causes.
irony. Who owns the most Teslas? More Democrats or more Republicans? I'm betting more. I'm betting more Democrats. Okay, so you got the Democrats having their damn cars burned up and set on fire by some nutcase that believes that that's really gonna help.
Right.
Going to end up in prison for 20 years. There's zero question in my mind that when these cases are done and they find it, they're going to end up in prison for 20 years.
Well, okay.
They'll make an example of it.
So let me ask on top of that too, because I disagree 100% with the tactics of that, but I also disagree with the designation of this as domestic terrorism. This is vandalism. It's arson, absolutely. So if you hit them with a domestic terrorist charge, is there a chance that ends up backfiring?
Well, have they done the same thing did they do the same thing in Waco? If they did, you wonder, on the right, have they gone as far as calling them domestic terrorists? I don't know the answer. I forget the answer to that. Maybe you can remember. Have they said that these people, the militia on the right, right walks around with swastikas and does horrible things, have we declared that they're domestic terrorists? Have we said that Antifa, for example, are domestic terrorists? I think this is your point. This is where this is all going. Antifa, I think, is going to be the next target for this administration. And they're going to determine that they're domestic terrorists. And if they find out that Antifa is behind this, it just adds another brick to that wall. I think we're saying the same thing. Where does this end?
Yeah.
Where do you say, no, this is just vandalism? It's not domestic terrorism, it's vandalism.
Because some of the folks, obviously the ones who have thrown Molotov cocktails, that to me, that's still vandalism or arson, I guess, in that point. But there are other folks that have, keyed the cars or scratched the cars, carved in swastikas.
Yeah.
To call that domestic terrorism, if you're trying to charge a 22-year-old with domestic terrorism for keying a car, I don't think you're going to go far on those charges.
But to me, the supreme irony is most of the people that own Teslas are progressive Democrats. That's the way I look at that.
Welcome to the Ring of Fire YouTube channel. I am Farron Cousins, the host of Ring of Fire here on YouTube. I don't know if this is your first time here or maybe you're somebody who comes here every single day, but either way, let me tell you what's going on. Ring of Fire was actually started in the year 2004 by none other than our own America's lawyer, Mike Papantonio. And over the last 20 plus years, Ring of Fire has gone from being a 1-hour weekend radio program on Air America through a series of changes. Go Left TV, which we started back in 2007. We've been on the Young Turks network. And of course, this very YouTube channel here that started, obviously, as they all do, with no subscribers. And we've now ballooned to well over 1 million as we go on our way to that 2 million mark. So again, if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. Take a few minutes, look around. We have content that actually goes back 20 years. So there's lots to see, there's lots to do. And trust me, with the next 4 years of Donald Trump getting back in office, we will be here every day, every single day with fresh content for you, to keep you informed about what's happening and, of course, to warn you of the potential dangers that Donald Trump poses as we approach his second term.